That looked like a hostage video, didn't it?
It looked like
Jason Kidd was sitting there. I guess Nico was still on the scene.
Yeah.
And Kidd sitting there next to him, and they're in the aftermath, like the day after they traded Luka Doncic, and he literally looked like they're the old reveal that we talk about with Hank Aaron, talking about the Barry Bonds breaking his record, where they pull back and there are two guys with ski masks on and machine guns pointed at his head. As he says, "Well, yeah, I also saw this as a good move."
He's making no facial expressions.
Take a guy out of the lineup who's averaging 40 points a game.
Just went to the
and
final.
throws in the other two stats for a triple-double as a matter of routine, even though he doesn't look like his vertical leap is more than a half inch. He's still grabbing 12 rebounds a game. How the hell is he doing that? He dishes off 12 assists and doesn't miss in the clutch. Sure, we're getting rid of that guy.
He's like, we just play with the guys we have. He looks scared.
That was one of the all-time phony press conferences. You know how we love that.
So
but, he looked stunned. He looked like he was on massive amounts of sedatives to sit down there and not be enraged the entire time.
The time.
Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Down to the final 5 seconds. Rats rain down. Lord Stanley staying in South Florida. Last year was greatness. This time it's historic. The Florida Panthers are back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. The Panthers have gone back-to-back in 24 and 25.
Glorious, beautiful, remarkable, and undeniable. The Panthers at the top of the Hockey Mountain.
The euphoria continues. A little bit of a post-cup hangover still existing around town, and it's just becoming more and more amplified with every passing moment. Morning, everybody. Good to be with you here in this fine Thursday edition of the program. I don't know how fine the edition of the program will be, but it's a fine Thursday. Jeff DeForest, we got Mike Lubie. A very happy Mike Lubie. Obsessed. I love this about you, Lubie. Obsessed with getting your hands on this Stanley Cup. Have you worked out any kind of a plan yet? Is there any inside information? I suppose we wouldn't really necessarily be doing our thing in any kind of proper fashion if we spill the beans as to where the cup is going to be.
No.
Why, you know something? What's going on?
I don't, but I learned it from last year. Like, anytime the word got out, a place got mobbed, and I'm at a different place in life. I don't. It's like the elbow room last year, if people remember, was very slow playing. Like, it was sort of if you were just on the beach, you happened to be partying with Kachuk and the cup.
Yeah.
Yesterday, that was a very different story. By 7 a.m, the place was mobbed.
Yeah. Literally, it's true. With the elbow room, normally somebody shows up at 7 a.m, peels a few drunks off the floor from the previous night that had passed out. And then they open up, at like 10, 11 o'clock? I'm not sure what time they start pouring alcohol there at the elbow room. Interestingly, when you saw aerial shots of the crowd there that was assembling, even as early as 7 a.m., the number of people there, easily outweighed the number of people that show up for a Marlin game about a third. Just sad to say. We love a winner. I mean, everybody loves a winner, let's face it. I don't know. If the Panthers had been bounced out in the second round, you think there'd be this level of excitement? No, of course not. But would they have stamped themselves as the franchise here in town of the moment? Because it's not looking good for some of these other teams, is it? Marlins, forget about it. I mean, in a complete, you're getting what you were expecting from them pretty much, maybe even a little bit more, and it's still not enough to draw 1,000 fans to the games. The Dolphins, you hear nothing about, Lubie. I mean, think about this. Normally around this time of the year, you're starting to get people inquiring, hey, you think we can go to the postseason, win a couple of playoff games? Nothing. Silence. Crickets surrounding any conversation. I haven't heard one person ask me, and I've been out and about, and not one person, usually somebody will come forward with some kind of sports question. You get this too. Hey, what do you think the Dolphins are going to do? Which I never mind answering because I have no idea. I don't know. I mean, I thought they were going to be good last year. I had them at 2-1 winning the AFC East. How far off was that prediction? They ended up, 8-9? Very sublime 8-9, and I don't hear any tone of optimism surrounding. Very unusual to be this late in June and not have somebody say, "Hey, wow, we look good this year, don't we?" Nothing. Silence. And the speculation with the Miami Heat is that if they I actually are among the favorites. Well, there aren't that many teams involved here, but you get plus 250 if you bet that the Heat will land Kevin Durant. Would you be willing to make that bet? Also at plus 250 are the Rockets. Rockets and the Heat are plus 250. Spurs and the Timberwolves are plus 350, but supposedly Durant already nixed a trade to the Timberwolves, which would have involved the Brooklyn Nets. And the Raptors are plus 500. I don't see Durant going to the Raptors for some reason. Not that I know anything about the inner workings of the mindset of Kevin Durant, but I'm thinking if you had a chance to make $60 million, unless you were wearing a MAGA hat, you would want to be in Florida where you can save the 10% in some state. What's the highest state tax? Is it up to 10% out in California? Is it higher? I'm not sure.
I don't know, between New York and
New
California.
York, what do you think? State tax in New York, city tax, you had to pay everything. I remember when I got my first paycheck, which was supposed to be a gross of $11.15, my first ever paycheck in my lifetime. I had worked a New York Jets game selling souvenirs at Shea, 1964. I made $11 in commission, and I'm expecting to see $11.15 in this check, which was not insignificant for a 14-year-old kid, because guys that were doing paper routes and working all week weren't making $11 for the week. So I thought, wow, that's pretty good. I made that in a couple hours, and I got to see a pro football game. But then I saw that slicing and dicing that was being done, Lubie, and it was hideous. State tax, city tax, county tax. I think I ended up with $3. 14-year-old kid. There it is, man. So I want every dime of my Social Security, Donald. Don't take that away from me. You may want to bomb Iran. Is he doing it or not? Well, what's the story on that? I don't want to get too deeply into this, but I find it interesting that these debates are being held on social media.
Yeah.
Whether or not to go to war with Iran. Well, I might do it, I might not. Come on, man. I mean, how wishy-washy can you be about making this is not a decision like lifting a pitcher in the sixth inning. That you go to the post-game press conference, you say, hey, you're talking to some guy like Jim Fregosi that doesn't really want to talk to the press anyway about any negativity. And you say, hey, Jim, did you really think that was a good move, taking this guy out after 6 2/3 of a no-hitter? And the guy throws you out of there. I mean, we're talking about bombing Iran. And the guy's on social media, might do it, might not do it. So that's the state of the world today. It's very unfortunate. I hope we're all here by tomorrow so we can do another show on a Degenerate Friday. But, I don't know. A lot of suspect things happening in the world of sport. And yet, when you look at the NBA, I can't imagine going to Canada with a $60 million salary. He's going to make what? Ethan Skolnick was saying, $120 million for 2 years is going to be the asking price of Kevin Durant? Or is that, think about where the NBA is at, Lubie. Did you see this amount of money that's involved in the Lakers transaction? It doesn't even buy the whole team. Didn't you think Steve Ballmer, I know he had billions of dollars, and it probably didn't matter that much to him whether he spent $2 or $3 billion to buy the LA Clippers. How many years ago was that? That was, what was it, more than a half a dozen years ago? How long has Steve Ballmer been the owner of the LA Clippers? And he paid $2 million for the franchise, and everybody thought, my God. That was in the aftermath of Donald Sterling being thrown out of the league.
Yes.
So that was the V. Stiviano era of NBA basketball, where here's the league being disgraced completely because they've allowed this racist owner to be a part of it for over 30 years and never made a peep about it till all of a sudden he was talking to his 28-year-old girlfriend or whatever she was and said, I don't know about those black people sitting down there in the first row, which you would think is not necessarily a flattering image for Adam Silver in the NBA. And he reacted quickly, but they didn't react about Donald Sterling until what happened, Lou? They started covering up the advertising signs in the arena. And it was like, wait, we can't tolerate this racism. What are you talking about? Not like they didn't know anything about Donald Sterling's positions. It's a Bud Adams thing in the NFL. When it begins to cost you money, then all of a sudden it's of great concern. And that's what happened there. But you would have to say the NBA is doing something magically correct, are they not? $10 billion is the evaluation now of the Los Angeles Lakers. $10 billion. This guy that owns the Dodgers, what is his name? Mike Walter?
Yeah.
I believe it's Mike Walter. Yeah.
I use the last name. I know that.
Walter, yeah. Mark Walter. Mark Walter owns the Dodgers, which what's that franchise worth? If the Lakers are worth $10 billion, my lord! But I thought, didn't you think like, wow, that's crazy? Steve Ballmer, I know he's got tons of cash, but what a ridiculous price to pay for an NBA franchise.
Yes.
Escalated the value of all NBA franchises, but these were numbers that were soaring into a stratosphere that you could have never imagined
Yep.
in the evaluation of a team. And here are the Lakers just a few years later, valued at 5 times what Ballmer paid a ridiculous price for the Clippers. Incredible. And it doesn't even buy him the entire franchise. Well, I guess the evaluation is $10 billion based on what he's going to pay for whatever percentage it is that he's buying. He's buying the majority ownership in the LA Lakers. Supposedly, Jeannie Buss is going to stay in place. That seems a little odd. Your man, Pavelka, or Palenka, I always call him Pavelka.
I'm Pavelka.
Palenka. How many times have I made that mistake?
Every time.
I'm doing it deliberately, subconsciously, just to show that we know nothing here. He may be in jeopardy. What does that make Luka Doncic worth? If now we know that he's already under contract, but and there are parameters and guidelines that they would have to operate by to pay any kind of veteran. But my God, go back to when the NBA was it late '70s, where they were on the verge of extinction practically. They made that deal with the players where they were going to do the revenue sharing, which was revolutionary at the time, and it kind of salvaged the future of the league. That turned out to be a pretty fortuitous deal for the players because the money is just absolutely insane. The Celtics just sold, I think, for an evaluation of $7 billion.
It was it 6 or 7?
6 or 7, yeah. I saw 7 today. I always thought it was 6. Well,
6
since the transaction took place. Now, did they sell the franchise in its entirety for the $6 billion? Because this doesn't even include. I mean, if Jeannie Buss is going to stay on and essentially have a certain level of control over the team, then it isn't as if this guy Walter, bought 99% of it. Unbelievable, the value of these franchises.
$1 billion. I don't know if that was 100. It's never really 100%. I don't know the percentage, but the franchise was sold to a group led by Bill Chisholm for $6.1 billion. Again, this was a year ago, so. Over a year, I guess things skyrocket.
Incredible, huh? I mean, not that it matters to me. I mean, the average guy, you're a fan, you're watching, you just want to see some good basketball, which we're hoping to see tonight. I don't know that we're going to get that. What do you think, Lubie? We have OKC and Indiana. Is it a foregone conclusion that with a hampered Halliburton that Indiana has no chance in this game, or do we get one of those miracle games by some guy like McConnell goes off for 30? And they make up for the fact that Halliburton apparently is going to be out there on the court. The line has jumped from 5 to 6 in a hook.
Oh, Jesus.
I don't even know if that's enough, is it? Although Oklahoma City has not been really adept at covering point spreads on the road or even winning on the road for that matter during the whole course of the playoffs. Doesn't it seem like it's a concessionary win for Oklahoma City in a championship tonight? What do you think?
Look, I really have to see what Halliburton has. The last time we saw him, he did not have a lot, and it led to the demise of the Pacers at the end of everything. I mean, they hung around the best they could. Eventually, they fell apart. It's annoying because I really thought the Pacers would take this game, and we were looking at a surprising 7-game series. Halliburton's not everything for them. If you look at the series, he hasn't led them in scoring often, but he's led them. And if he's not out there being able to get into the paint, if he's not out there guiding their offense, it sort of falls apart eventually. I don't know. That does not feel good. We've seen Siakam take over. We've seen McConnell fill in. We know Turner, Neesmith, and Nembhard could definitely get points. So I won't write them off. They're a young team at home, and that is a nice combination that usually leads to a little boost. I don't know what we hear about hamstring. You don't hear about the calf often. So it's not like he's an athletic freak, Halliburton. So I'm curious if they can shoot him up, if he can loosen up. I don't know what he is tonight because everyone's assuming he's just going to be a shell of himself again. It had just happened. There was only so much treatment you can give a guy in game. You've had that. They not only had the 2 days, they gave you the extra day for some reason. I still don't understand.
When did this injury pop up? During the game itself? I think it was obviously prior.
I don't know, but they
How come nobody knew about it? Where's the injury report?
No one talked about an injury until that game when they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, he looks off. He must be hurt." It's like you haven't. He's looked sort of most of this series. No one's talked about injuries. So did he just like? That's why I'm assuming he got it the last game because they never talked about an injury until he was like he's been okay a lot of these games. He was horrible, and to the point where he was just non-existent in that game. And that's
He
when they're
looked
like,
like Joe Biden out there. He was falling all over the place. Gets up, and they're thinking, I'm not sure about the future of this guy. Certainly in that ball game, a lot of people were critical of Rick Carlisle. I don't know about a lot of people, but I saw a couple of people in the media, and they were critical of Rick Carlisle. Post-race handicapping is always an easy thing to do, isn't it, Lubie?
yeah.
Where, I told you the 4 couldn't lose. It's like, okay, let me see your tickets. And the guy's got 60 to win on the 3. And thinking, okay, well, if you're so sure of it, why don't you bet on it yourself? But the criticism of Carlisle was that he should have just taken Halliburton out of the game. Now, the other theory was that Halliburton was serving as some kind of decoy, like he was Paul Warfield. And even though everybody knew that Shula was going to run the ball on 95% of the plays, you had Warfield out there, so that loomed as a threat. Very interesting to use a Hall of Famer as a decoy, but the Dolphins managed to employ that strategy and do it very effectively, including the 7 passes that Bob Greasy threw in a Super Bowl game with this guy out there on the field. Imagine that, only attempted 7 passes. You got Paul Warfield out there. How was he not targeted like 20 times? If he was a diva receiver like we have around the NFL today, he would have walked off the field at halftime. Just give me, it would have been Keyshawn Johnson time. Just give me the damn ball. Do something. But to have Halliburton as a decoy when clearly, Oklahoma City has to figure the guy's getting MRIs. He's being brought to the arena in an ambulance. You would have to think that they would be well aware that they didn't have to pay an overwhelming amount of attention to Tyrese Halliburton tonight if he plays. Now he may surprise everybody and be fine. Was it true? Did you check that rumor out that I sent you this morning, Lubie? I don't know if you did any research on this. That Panama Lewis had been hired to work on Halliburton's calf. That'd cure it in a short period of time, right? Whatever it is, give me the bottle I mixed. I don't know. How do you overcome that? It really looked terrible. It was 3 days ago.
Yeah.
Just doom, DOOM, a 4-letter word, seems to be something that you could attach to the Indiana Pacers tonight. So they'll probably win. No, Louis, I don't know.
You're fine with me. I'd love to see a 7-game. That series has been surprisingly better than advertised, so it'd be cool to see. I mean, look, the Thunder, I think, are going to win no matter what. And now with the Halliburton injury, I think that's sort of fait accompli. Like I presume that's going to happen now. It's just annoying that it feels like it's done tonight. Like if Halliburton isn't himself, they're a weird team because it's not like he's LeBron. It's not like they what's cool about them, and even SGA, like what's cool about them is they sort of do it by committee. So him being banged up shouldn't mean they're done. But he's been the guy that at the end of games, no matter what he's doing in that game, he, if not takes over, he calms everything down and he helps guide them to the end. If he's not himself, it's hard to believe. It's hard to see him or them doing that.
My friend Joey Savage, the son of the race caller, Bob Savage, who was the race caller I first heard down here when I arrived in Florida, and I went out to call the race course for the first time, and he's calling the races. I became friends with Joey, and it was not uncommon. He had a term that I think describes accurately the position of the Indiana Pacers in tonight's ball game. And I would say, hey, Joey, how you doing? You making any money out here on your wagers? And he would just look at me and say, barbecued.
Yeah, that sort of feels accurate.
Doesn't it feel that way? I mean, it feels like they're cooked. And it's unfortunate, too, because this loomed. I mean, I was feeling pretty good about the people that took the Pacers at plus 550 in the series. Nobody, as we were saying, if you were going to make a bet on this thing, you couldn't possibly have laid 700 to win 100. And even if you did, should you tell anybody about it? Now, if you laid 7,000 to win 1,000, and you told somebody, I had $7,000 on Oklahoma City in the series, and you thought, well, what'd you get back on that? 8. And you're thinking 8? You won 8,000? No, I got a total back. I got my 7,000 back plus 1. Don't you walk away from that person in disgust and say, listen, don't ever lose my number. Don't ever mention my name again. I don't want to be associated with somebody that would do something like that. Now, the people that took the plus 550, I have great respect for, but this is really ending, or seems like it's ending in a very disappointing fashion to have. How unfortunate is that? Because I thought Indiana was going to give them a run for their money after watching the first couple of games. And even the second game when they got shellacked by 16 after coming back in game one, it was interesting because you thought the matchup really wasn't as much of a mismatch as people had anticipated. And then you figured they were going to win one of the two games in Indiana, which they did. They took the 2-1 lead. I thought they could sustain it. Maybe even look, they had a 3-1 lead pretty much etched in stone until Scott Foster intervened and started awarding free throws on virtually. Guys aren't even getting touched at the Oklahoma City end of the offensive end of the court when Oklahoma City had the ball, and they're sending SGA, a 90% free throw shooter, to the line on virtually every possession. And you were looking for Tim Donaghy to be winking at one of the Gambinos in the crowd and saying, "Don't worry, the over's a cinch here. I'll be sending these guys to the free throw line every possession." So they were right there in a position to make this a very exciting proposition. And then all of a sudden, it just all of the air seems to have been taken out of the balloon. So I'm thinking that finishes up tonight. All right, those of you that are standing by for the trivia challenge, Dave Gurgles Gurgley, I don't know what day he did this, but
it was Monday, or at least I remember him telling us Monday he went in. So I just reached out to him. I'm hoping it's okay. I haven't heard from him.
A second hip replacement.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the first one went well, so we would presume the second one will go well. I
don't know. I mean, I feel very fortunate because I know other people. A good friend, Chris Visser, I think, or just had a hip replacement. I know his sister, Leslie, the lovely and talented one, I think had a couple of them. But what brings that on, Lubie? It's an injury I'm fortunate that I'm completely unfamiliar with.
Thank God.
Almost everybody that's played recreational sports or sports at any level has torn a hamstring or pulled a hamstring muscle. You know what that's all about. Calf strains. I've experienced that. Almost anybody that's played a game has probably at some point pulled a calf muscle or had some problems down there. Feet, plantar fasciitis, all of this stuff. But the hip replacement procedure and the recovery, I have no clue about that, Louis. Do you know anybody that's gone through that? Now Gurgle survived it and felt obviously comfortable enough about it to go back and do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Does it always work? I mean, how arduous is the recovery from a hip replacement? I have no idea. I wouldn't have a clue what that experience was.
I don't know. When I was growing up, I remember a hip.
And what causes that?
I don't know. Like I know, again, when I was young, I remember like older people getting a hip surgery, and it was a big freaking deal. It was like, oh shoot, you have to get a hip. Like it was one of those things that you didn't want to do ever, and the recovery was scary. So I guess they've, like all surgery, they've sort of rectified a lot of the issues they had, but I don't know.
Knee replacement used to be like you were El Kaputsky.
Yeah, like that's.
But now people come back from it and say they never felt better. Like their knees feel like they did when they were a 2-year-old.
Yep.
Before you started running on cement and running into parked cars playing football. How the hell did we survive? Those of us that grew up in that era, we were playing ball in the streets and tackle football on cement. I mean, it was crazy, the stupid stuff we used to do. But, yeah, I mean, these guys obviously have the finest of medical treatment and every possible thing available to them. Can you goose up a calf enough that's fragile for a guy to have a peak performance in a professional ball game?
I just want him to be able to be involved. Like the scary thing to me for the Pacers is if he's persona non grata, like if he can't do anything, if he's just totally useless, there's only so much you can get out of McConnell. Like McConnell is really good in spurts. Like eventually the other team figures him out and just shadows him because his thing is just continuous motion. So eventually if you just put another guy that's good at running around a lot, he eventually cools off. Like he's not a facilitator. He doesn't really run the offense. He runs around like a lunatic and then goes to the basket, or he runs around and then shoots that weirdo front-facing jumper thing that he does. Like, he's not a guy that's doing it for entire games. Even when he's had good moments, if you notice, it's short, it's spurts. Like, that's what he is, and that's great. He brings in energy and all this stuff. Like if you can't get anything out of Halliburton, it's what you were just saying, sort of. I don't know what tonight is then. Like,
well, and Matherin has been inconsistent. I mean, one game he looks brilliant, the next game he has 5 points. What is 27 in one of those that win? They had a game 3. The guy was great, but he does a vanishing act here and there. Not atypical of role players, but back in the day, I mean, when you had a guy like a Vinnie Johnson coming off the bench, the microwave, one of my favorite players of all time, you knew what you were going to get from the guy. When Hondo Havlicek peeled himself off the bench when he was a 6th man for the Boston Celtics, you knew what was happening. The guy was going to deliver a consistent performance. Yeah, Hondo's got 17. He's only played 24 minutes.
He's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
I mean, that happened to be on the bench.
You're not getting that kind of consistency out of some of the Indiana bench players. And while they've been capable of being spectacular at times, they haven't been consistently doing it. And so that leads me to the conclusion that OKC wins tonight. Will you lay the 6 and a hook, Lubie? That would be the question.
Yeah, I think it's sort of a runaway. Like even if the Pacers do muster up something, I don't see how they can do it for 4 quarters. It's just hard for me to believe that.
Good, huh? I mean, I don't know what they need to do.
This series really got legs out of nowhere, and to see it sort of putter at the end would be lame.
Really kind of ending with a thud. And, of course, according to the expectation of virtually everybody who had Oklahoma City, it was knee-jerk reaction. Remember we were talking about that before the series, Oklahoma City in 5.
Yep.
Looked like it was going to be a challenge, and you're not that far off if you have Oklahoma City in 6. I would love to be sitting there with a ticket, Oklahoma City in 6 tonight, wouldn't you? And I would love to be wrong because I kind of ended up developing a real rooting interest in the Indiana Pacers. So anyway, that's the way that went, and we'll see what happens if the Pacers can hang in there tonight. At least it would be nice to see a competitive ball game.
Let's play a game, yeah. Like, and look, it worked in our favor. When it's my team, I don't mind a blowout, but I'm sure after the first 4 games where you got 3 overtime, people figured the Panthers going 7. It's going to be a war. And then the last 2 games, they outscored them 10-3. That's not what hockey fans were looking for. Again, for us down here, it was nice to just be able to not like last year when they were in the corner with the clock ticking and Bobrovsky didn't know what was going on and it was 2-1 and you're like, oh my God, they're definitely giving this up. It was nice to just be able to cheer on empty netters.
Yes.
But from where we are for this series, other people were like, what the hell were these last 2 games? It feels like that's what we're getting in the NBA Finals. The Thunder pulled away in Game 5. And I, if they're smart, look, I mean, we've seen them let the Pacers hang around. If they're smart, they put them out of the misery early. If you're the Thunder and Halliburton is clearly hobbled, if not useless, you cannot let Siakam and McConnell beat. You have to come out early, and that'll just make the game even more boring and horrendous.
Well, what an unfortunately flat conclusion this is going to be to what shaped up for a brief moment there as what could have been a very compelling series. I don't have any particular rooting interest. I mean, I'll be happy for Oklahoma City. I like the story. I really have fallen in love with this Jalen Williams kid from watching.
Yeah, he's legit.
Yep. Seems like a really, really, as I was saying the other day, I mean, just a really well-grounded young guy. To have this kind of approach and be so young. And we know nothing about their coach, Degno. I didn't know how to pronounce his name, but he's done a marvelous job with this kid.
Yep.
You would have to say. And with the team, they play with the kind of spirit that, you see this more often in hockey where the team exhibits kind of togetherness and sort of has their own inner sanctum where they're all in it for all of the right reasons or whatever, and they're rolling again. I mean, look, even the gesture at the end when the ceremony began for the Florida Panthers, where Barkov has everybody who had never hoisted the cup before go first. And you're saying, was this guy even in the series? When did Schmidt play? No, he was, he was a role player of sorts. And the guy that shot the puck into the crowd there that cost him the goal in overtime in game, what was that? Game
Nosek, yeah. Oh, God.
I didn't see him do much else, but that.
No, he did nothing the rest of the series.
These guys are lining up. They're 1-2, holding the cup up as it rolled around. And then you're hearing great stories about how Barkov was in the stands with the people that were cleaning up the arena. 1:30 in the morning, went all the way up to the rafters there where people are gathering all these hot dog wrappers and whatever it was, peanut shells, whatever beer, spilt beer. And you would imagine the place was a mess. I was always fascinated by the cleanup crews at stadiums and thought, well, I'm surprised that they even show up for work anymore because there's a pretty good chance. You see what happened at, was it Louisiana Downs, where the ice people showed up on the backstretch, which you could go to the backstretch at virtually every racetrack in the country and probably find 80% of the people had no status in terms of being in this country. Green cards expired, maybe no official stature right here whatsoever. So they rounded all these people up and just they hoisted them out of there. They could probably do that to some of the cleanup crews at these stadiums. So,
Oh, for sure.
so yeah, you might want to tidy up around your area. Otherwise, you're going to be sitting in all kinds of crap when you go out to a ball game if you show up the day after a homestand started. All right, a lot more to discuss here on the program where we've already thrown in the towel on Indiana tonight. The Stanley Cup will be all over town again. It's true, though. There were more people at the Elbow Room in that aerial shot at 7 in the morning than were showing up, not just for Marlin games, but even Panther games circa
Yeah, like 6 years ago.
2015. Isn't that amazing? I mean, winning really inspires people in sport.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic. Well, winning and winning money, I guess, would be the two things now that really kind of drive people to be attached to sports. All right, we're going to come back with more. No Dave Gurgles-Gurgley, the hip surgery. Keeping an eye. We hope he's okay.
I know. I texted him just to check in on him, make sure he's all right.
Yeah, I would think the first few days after that probably aren't all that pleasant.
Yeah, not great.
Because all you want to do, people, is get back to being yourself. Isn't that the case? You just want to feel good and be able to go out there and do the things that you enjoy doing and not have to be in constant pain or fear that something negative is going to happen to you. And let's face it, it's a short trip, everybody. So
Yep.
when you're in a situation like I am, Lubie, see, you're still in a pretty good over-under situation, but where you realize you've lived a lot more years than you have left.
Oh, yeah.
You really have to start embracing some new philosophies, I think, if you hadn't carried this approach to life all throughout, which I kind of have. But I always, if I have one regret, it's wasted time. I don't know about you.
No.
Where you said, wait a minute, why did I stay inside watching TV all day when I could have been out doing stuff? So get out there, people. That's my advice to you.
Yep.
Do the things that make you happy. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment. Yankees in the throes of a woeful slump. I know that makes a lot of people here happy. How many, what would you say the percentage is with all of the New York expatriates that we have here in South Florida, which a lot of them go back for the summertime, so we don't see them as much, to complain about the New York Yankees slump, but they've lost 7 in a row, Lubie.
Oh, geez.
7 in a row, and oddly, I believe the Los Angeles Angels, which is a team that I still hold near and dear to my heart, back in the days when I was covering the California Angels at Anaheim Stadium, and they had Nolan Ryan there and Frank Tanana, Bobby Grich at second base. They had some great players. Don Baylor, we mentioned, always a guy that was leaning into a pitch to get hit by a pitch. Still amazes me, as we brought that up the other day, that Tommy Hutton, our good friend, had, I believe, 1,500 Major League at-bats and never got hit by a pitch. How is that possible? How far from the plate was he standing? Tommy!
Yeah, exactly.
Get in the batter's box, huh? They didn't enforce that as much as they do now, did they? Remember when you were in Little League, Lubie? I don't know. Maybe that had passed by the time you got to that stage, but you would always dig in with your back foot just outside the batter's box, giving yourself that extra 6 inches or whatever it was to be able to time some guy's 70-mile-an-hour fastball, which in Little League, I guess, is the equivalent of a 90-mile-an-hour pitch from a major league distance. But yeah, you were always outside the batter's box. Are they enforcing that now, where you have to be in the box? I think that was an approach that changed.
I mean, you should.
So how far out of the box was Tommy Hutton back in the day?
I don't know.
How do you never get hit by a pitch? It's almost impossible.
It's weird. Yeah, he played a long time. Yeah,
in the majors.
I don't know.
Pretty incredible, yeah.
That was a weird stat.
I mean, you'd have to be a human Gumby to be able to. Somebody had to throw at him at some point. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment. Yankees in the throes of an abysmal slump, and you know what that's done? Tampa Bay Rays are now a game and a half out of first
know.
place.
That's crazy. Well, how far ahead were they to lose 7 in a row and still be up a game and a half? Jeez.
Well, and the Rays, how the hell did they do it? Lubie, we really need to do a documentary, a study on the Tampa Bay Rays. Never mind Billy Ball, whatever they're doing. And look, all of the executives that were responsible for much of their wisdom and ingenuity with winning players are all elsewhere, including. I'm beginning to think this Peter Bendix had nothing to do with the Rays. So we get the guy that was a complete stiff, that was like essentially an errand boy for the front office. Is that a fair characterization? I don't know this guy at all. He looks like, who was the actor that played Jonah Hill?
Okay.
Was in Billy Ball. Doesn't he look like Jonah Hill in Billy Ball?
Bendix looks like Jonah Hill.
Doesn't he? Take a look at Peter Bendix and tell me that he doesn't remind you.
Oh, yeah.
Jonah Hill. Oh,
sort of does.
So how come we don't get the Jonah Hill from the movie?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, maybe I'm way off on this. Jim Sarney would be.
I hope you are. I don't know. How many years do we give them before we're?
Yeah, man. How many years does this go on? How long?
Year 2. It's only year 2 for him, and all they've done is tear downs and not spend money. So there's only so much you can expect from the guy. But how many years is it? Like, do we do 4 years?
A 5-year plan? I mean, what's the length of tolerance that we have for?
Because I know they've been more fun this year. They've had their moments and they late game resiliency and all that stuff, but they're still a horrible team.
This guy is, I mean, so far he's been a front office bag lady. And just, I don't know. I mean, has he made any genius moves that we've seen? I'm not sure. I don't know that I could pinpoint any of it because, and that's part of the problem, unable to stimulate any interest whatsoever in the franchise, as was the case for quite some time with your Florida Panthers.
Yeah.
And what changed? That Dale Talon, is he not ticketed for the NHL Hall of Fame? I would think so.
Oh, yeah.
So they replaced this guy with Bill Zito. Did we know anything about Bill Zito before he came here?
No.
What
He
the
was
hell
an
was he
agent
doing?
at one point. He was an agent. He was a
He was
former
a sports agent. Okay.
Yeah, he's a former agent who got into the game itself and is a freaking savant. Like, it's just crazy. He's saying
Brilliant.
he's gonna try and find a way to keep all 3 guys. Like, from team that
Probably will. I mean, wouldn't you? If you were a 37-year-old Brad Marchand, naturally it's all about the almighty dollar. And this,
He's not gonna get paid nothing. He just showed what his value is.
Yeah.
But for a chance to win another cup, look, that's my thing is if they can find a way to give these guys representative dollars.
wouldn't you rather be here than say in Carolina, where you know you're going to choke? With all due respect to Rob Brindamore, every time they get to the Eastern Conference Finals every year, but who wants to go out a loser? You would think too. I mean, how does this damage the psyche? Did you see the look on the faces of the Edmonton Oilers after Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Finals? Did they look like a team that was going to bounce back with all kinds of energy and dedication? Because it's happened to them 2 years in a row. At what point do you just throw in the towel on the idea that you're? I mean, and McDavid's been in the league 10 years?
Yeah, I didn't realize it's been
0
10 years. That's crazy.
He's falling in that category. Danny boy.
I know. Hey, look, Twitter's interesting with algorithms where now, because I was doing this and that around the series, I'm getting a lot of Canadian fan tweets or X messages. And like, I didn't realize there was this comparison of Sidney Crosby to McDavid to Gretzky, McDavid to the greats. And people are like, well, that can't be said anymore. Look at this, 10 years in, and look what Sid the Kid did when he was like 22 in his first cup. But in my mind, I'm like, yeah, but the team was loaded. Like, getting Malkin was even better than Draisaitl. They had Jordan Staal. They had but then it is true. I forgot they played a Red Wings team that had like 5 Hall of Famers, and he had like 30 points. Like, he was a madman. So it's like, yeah, McDavid, as good as the Panthers are, and they are, I think this is very much, he's more of Ovi than he is Sid the Kid, where he's a really talented dude. He has a nice team, but those Capitals teams were always nowhere near the same talent level as the Penguins. And I think McDavid will eventually get one, but yeah, look, to have one goal in an entire series, no matter what the Panthers do. Like, when you're that kind of great, and that's why I was scared. In hockey, we see those guys find a way to at least make it competitive.
Well, and naturally, hustle has a lot to do with it. How many times did we see Bobrovsky give up a hideous rebound where the thing came out basically to the free throw line? And there was never anybody there. And when there was, you had a shot come from the left side or maybe from the middle of the ice there, point blank range, but it had to go through a lot of bodies. Bobrovsky would give up a pretty long rebound. And with the Panthers, there was always some guy skating down the left side there to knock that thing back in. Whereas Edmonton seemingly was never in position. And when they were, the rare times that they were, the guy would whiff or shoot the puck wide of the net or put it right into Bobrovsky's pads as he was staying light, like you said, low on the ice. They couldn't get any lift on the thing. Not easy to be overly critical of somebody that whiffs on a shot like that, but it did seem like when the opportunities were there, in spite of McDavid, and he created many of them, that there was no help coming. So can't do it alone, Lubie. I was, all through the playoffs, you had to be extremely impressed with Connor McDavid. And the fact that the guys in the league almost universally and concede that he's the best player in the game, I mean, I would have to think that they know what they're talking about. But is he going to go down? I mean, look, Ernie Banks never won a championship there. He's with the Cubs all those years. Great ball player. Had over 500 home runs. Never won a World Series. Danny Boy is the classic example here in town. How did this guy never win a Super Bowl with the way he threw the rock? And he had talent around him, but unfortunately had no defense.
Never. Well, and then outside of the Marx brothers, he was always lacking in skill talent. That. And a lot of people will go back and say it might have been on him. He didn't ever want to run the ball, and that's well documented. So why they realized, why would we ever invest in real running backs, which ended up being to his own detriment. There's a lot with Marino that is up in the air, but you always thought if he got a little bit more help, he would have found a way. I don't know. Look, no Hyman. He is their third best player, and they're not as deep as the Panthers. I don't know if Oiler fans are saying, well, they would have won in 6. No, I think it would have just been a tighter 6-game series, because what people don't realize is it was 6 games, but the Panthers utterly dominated the 6 games.
Yes.
So maybe if Hyman's there's more room for McDavid and Draisaitl, but the Panthers still had 4 lines that would have kept coming. And again, guys like Barkov may have done even more. That's what's interesting about the Panthers is they won, and they won in dominant fashion, but they didn't play their best hockey for a lot of that series. I was tough on them for the first 4 games. So, I mean, they gave away a lot.
They had some complete lapses a couple of times, a couple of periods, those second periods. They just
Hyman's there. Who knows that they don't ratchet it up? To me, I think it was going to be 6 games in the end, no matter what. And it just might have been a tighter 6 games. Their goalie play, I guess, is a disaster.
Goalie play was completely suspect.
Yeah, and that's something their fans, I've learned, seeing the Canadian.
Those goals that Skinner gave up in Game 6. You're a great goaltender.
They were bad.
You're not down 3-0 after 1 period. I mean, the Reinhart goal, look, that's an exceptional play. But even that was one of those shots that you would have thought was stoppable. It seemed like Skinner was out of position a lot on the goals that he gave up, which naturally would make sense that he wasn't in the right place at the right time. But it just seemed like he would come out to cut off an angle and then give up a goal on the short side. And when he stayed in the pipes, in the paint there, the blue territory in front of the net, it was a mistake usually.
No.
Yeah, I mean, he seemed to be out of position on a couple of those goals, especially in the first period of that final game, the clinching game. Then put his team in a deep enough hole that the Panthers were able to use what you say, their suppressing, smothering defense to capitalize on the fact that they had the lead and they were going to be able to hang on to it. All right, we're coming back with more. We've been trying to throw to this break for the last 20 minutes here. You've been hearing that sketchy music in the background, which means it's time to go for a minute. No Dave Gurgley today, like I said. Sorry about the trivia challenge. He said he was going to bounce back next week, so we'll see if he can pull that off. And we'll be back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 8:29. Play the ponies in style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. Make the right choice for your home. Call Choice Mortgage today.
To be or not to be? That is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them, to die, to sleep, no more, and by to say we end the heart and 1,000 natural shocks.
What could that have been about, except
Gambling.
to hedge or not to hedge?
The modern day odd couple, Defo and Lubie, are on now. It is, of course, the Defo Show.
All right, welcome to the show. So what do we do? Do we return our attention to baseball? Is that going to be the essential area of concentration? Have you been watching any baseball?
Oh, no. I
No?
keep an eye
No?
on the Marlins, but no, not even a little.
Marlins have been tough. I mean, they win the occasional game there, but I don't know that they're providing any kind of a spark. Naturally, watching what's going on in the National League West a little bit as best I can follow that. The Dodgers have opened up 4 and a hook on San Francisco and the Padres. They played both of those teams heads up in the last 2 series. I think they won the Giants series 2-1 and are having success against the Padres as they've opened up 4.5 in the National League West. Interestingly, National League East, 2-team race going on. Braves appear to be hopelessly out of it. If you're 11 games back, now we've seen bigger comebacks, but the Braves haven't been able to put it together. And of course, they traded an ace in Max Fried, or he left and went to the Yankees. What was that? Free agency?
I think so.
Free agency. And he was just doing Studley like work. But is he injured now, Max Fried? What's going on with him? Because
I don't know.
he was pitching to a minuscule earned run average and had a phenomenal upside record, and clearly had established himself after Garrett Cole went down as the ace of the Yankees staff. I don't know. Well, when are they going to start calling for the head of Aaron Boone? How many games into this losing streak do they have to put?
Oh, good. By next week, I'm sure. Especially if the Red Sox, who were hopelessly out of it, are now within less than 5 games. I mean, and the Rays, who
Rays a game and a half back with nothing. Who do they have?
even by the
They
Rays,
don't have a Rosarina anymore. I mean, they dealt him. Who do they have that you can name? I couldn't name you one Rays player, and I've seen some Rays baseball this year.
No, I mean, they're having an okay year, but for the Yankees to come back to the pack like that, this was one of the rare years the East was sort of like no one everyone's hovering around 500. The Yankees felt like they were just going to torch the division to fall apart in the middle of the season like that. Yeah, I don't know. I would presume they're going to be calling for his head very soon. I don't know. Look, the fact that he found his way into the World Series saved his ass because he should have been fired last year. So he got an extension. I mean, a magical extension. I don't know. I mean, he's a horrendous manager.
I haven't heard the criticisms though. They haven't been levied at Aaron Boone like they usually are at this stage of the season because the Yankees looked like they were going to establish an all-time major league home run record for a team.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Judge was on fire. I don't know how badly he's tailed off during his slump, but I did see was he 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts the other day? Aaron Judge, who was, I mean, you couldn't touch this guy. He was hitting over 400 with 20 plus home runs, hovering around 400. And you're thinking, holy George Brett, here's George Brett with even more power. He was unstoppable. But I haven't heard the cries and the screams out of the New York Yankee fans about it's all Aaron Boone's fault. So look forward to that. I always like the fetching about the manager of the New York Yankees because he's handed the keys to the kingdom. It's pretty hard to screw it up. Not that they've always had the greatest assemblage of talent, but they do have enough money to throw around so they can make up for a lot of mistakes. Brian Cashman, I haven't heard anything about Cashman. How many more games did they have to extend this losing streak before they start bringing up pictures of Lisa Meanwell in the New York Post? Saying, remember this, Brian? You had to buy her out. Some soccer mom that you were banging. Unbelievable. So that's been interesting. Is it enough to compel you to watch some baseball? Mets and Phillies are in a tight race now. The Mets looked like they were running away. The Phillies were in the throes of a woeful slump. They were losing game after game. I think they had dropped 5 in a row not that long ago and now have bounced back and are right in there. I think 2 games. Is that the margin in the National League East? I actually made a couple of notes here, Lubie. Let me see if I can read them. National League East. Mets
Up a game.
Up a game. Now
and the Phillies are down a game.
Wow.
The Marlins beating the Phillies a couple games ago, so even then it's still a game. Yeah, the Mets and the Yankees are struggling at the exact same time, which I'm sure New York's loving.
Incredible, huh? I mean, there was euphoria among Met fans. It looked like the Phillies weren't quite what they were cranked up to be. Dave Dombrowski, haven't heard any assertions that Dave Dombrowski has lost it, but they bounce right back into it. Now a game back of the New York Mets. So with Atlanta 11 games out, did they become a factor in that race, or is it just essentially going to be 2 teams to the wire?
Yeah, I mean, the Brave fans, they're all over my timelines. They're not happy. It's rare to see people. I thought it was Marlin fans for a second, and they're like, we need to fire him. I'm like, yeah, I don't even know who the coach is, but I'm sure you could fire the Marlins coach. And they're like, Snitker. I'm like, oh,
Snitker. Wow.
It's the Braves.
Well-respected old-time guy.
Years ago.
How could you not like Snitker?
They've fallen off. It's rare to see the Braves be this bad. Like, it's just
they started out horribly, and then it looked like they had sort of resurrected their chances a little bit. But must be really meandering back towards the bottom level again because 11 games out, while the Mets are in the throes of a woeful slump, that doesn't look good for anything but those 2 teams in the National League East. And surprisingly, the most dominant team in any division is the Detroit Tigers, although there were some people that thought the Tigers were going to be good this year. I don't know enough about their players to give you any kind of reasonably well thought out assessment, but maybe is that just a crummy division, the AL Central? Tigers have played great baseball all year long. You would have thought they might have had a couple of challengers, and Houston, surprisingly, I mean, no matter what happens to the Astros, it's a time to overlook the cheating scandal. And the Carlos Beltran, like John Good Vibes Bonham, beating the lids of those garbage cans and signaling to Jose Altuve. Were they signaling to Altuve through the garbage can messaging? It was, something back in the days in one of those old Western movies when the drums would start beating and you go, the Native Americans are aware that the Cowboys are about to come over the hill here. Or was it some kind of communication system? And how did this story go away without any further investigation? Was Altuve wearing a wire?
Oh, good.
When he wouldn't take his shirt off there during the, a post-game ceremony? Where somebody was like trying to rip his shirt open and he was like, no.
Yeah, it was a celebration. I mean, he was obviously like that whole thing was weird.
Have you ever been around a guy? Unfortunately, I have, that was wearing a wire.
No.
And you're like, hey, it's like 1,000 degrees. Why don't you, take that shirt off? We're going to go swimming. Oh, no, I'm very sensitive to the sun. You see this little lump sticking out there, and you're thinking, my God, I can't believe you're doing that.
You jerk off.
All right, we didn't accomplish much. Where's the latest Stanley Cup celebration going to be held? Do we have any idea what's happening? Sunday
idea.
is a parade. Did they designate
Yes.
the route? Is it going to be the same as last year on the
I
beach?
think it's Las Olas. Yeah, I think it's the beach. I'm hoping. Look, if the weather's right, I want to go. The rain is around 40%, which in South Florida usually means 100%. But the lack of rain we've had.
Rain at this time of the year, rain is 100% possible every day.
Yeah. So I mean, I hope it's later in the day. The parade's early. Like it'd be cool to get to experience it. I wasn't gonna go near it last year. That was a freaking disaster. But look, I being a Sunday, they should be well attended, and people are really ready for it. We'll see where it pops up today.
What do we have to do? I mean, do we have to put Mayo in some torture chair to find out what day Luongo's showing up at Heritage? What wouldn't you have a repeat performance of that? And what day the trophy is going to be, the cup is going to be at the Cafe Seville? Those would be the two spots I would think that I would have a chance to get next to the cup. But it would have to be on inside information that was held in very, very secretive fashion. As I guess Reno himself, the owner of Heritage, didn't even know the cup was showing up that day.
No.
Didn't you get a call like at the last minute? Isn't that the way the story goes? That says, "Hey, make sure you're open," even if it's your day off. So, and I was surprised. I didn't realize Joey Esposito at Cafe Seville had those kind of ties to hockey. I know he's tied into the sports scene quite a bit, especially with recruiting for the University of Pittsburgh, where many times this was at a time where you probably could have ratted out some of these assistant coaches because if you could get some kind of penalty for buying a kid a cheeseburger like Don Solinger did when he was with the Hurricanes, what would the penalty be for having a meal at the Cafe Seville by comparison?
Oh, Jesus.
I would think it would be in order, and you'd be willing to accept it because the food's that good. All right, we have to get out of here. Thanks so much for being with us. We'll do it again tomorrow, a Degenerate Friday. We'll have the professor with us. Should be a lot of fun. For Mike Lubitz, I'm Jeff DeForest. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate all the comments that were made on the comment line that we have. Always appreciate you guys participating on the show. And we'll see you tomorrow as we leave you now that.
The time.
9:02.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my